Welcome to the Decleated Football Podcast. I am your host, John Restrepo, here with my co-host, Seamus Digan. Seamus, yesterday was one of those rare eclipse moments, where the planets align. In this case, both of our team schedules aligning, and we got a Giants versus Packers football game that we get to talk about and get to have some shared experiences about. How are you feeling this Monday after one hell of a tailgate?
It was a hell of a tailgate. Obviously the Victory Monday portion of it makes it feel a little bit better, but nonetheless, great tailgate from the moment we got there around 9 o'clock in the morning. Another part of that eclipse that you mentioned is I can't tell you the last time, maybe not ever in my career of going to these games, have we ever had a 1 o'clock game. It's always the 4:25 kick, game of the week, or Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, something, which I appreciate. It's a legendary matchup. I get it. But, to have the 1 o'clock kick, to have it be as warm as it could possibly have been, although the wind gust made it, a little chillier than expected, and then to be home in a reasonable hour, it was fantastic.
It was great. And kind of what you were alluding to also, for a November game, this is probably one of the best weather situations you could have got. Again, could have done with a little less wind, but it was sunny for the most part. Again, 50-something degrees in the middle of November is really all you can ask for. So, but yeah, it was great. We had both of our families were there, a lot of friends, great atmosphere, a lot of food. Also, I think you put a patent on a new breakfast staple, Seamus, the bratwurst, egg, and cheese. So that's a nice melting pot of, the New York, New Jersey area and the, Green Bay fandom coming together. That was pretty incredible what you created.
100%. I think we'll have to rename instead of the Beck, the bacon, egg, and cheese, it'll be the Breck, the brat, egg, and cheese. Look, there's nothing wrong with either of those things separately, so why would they not be good together? Put it through a little mustard on there. Oh, it was chef's kiss.
It was fantastic. But anyway, besides the tailgate festivities, honestly, it was a very good game. Also, Giants kept it close. We got to see first Jameis Winston action. And it was pretty much the Jameis Winston experience from the start of the game to the end. And, I'll give you a chance to speak too here, Seamus, since it's not just, my spiel, your spiel. We're kind of a little more interwoven here. But just looking at the Jameis Winston experience, I don't know why this guy wasn't our backup or starting this whole season. Russell Wilson, the last couple blimps that we saw him have just been unplayable, and good for Kafka to just be like, no, this guy gives us the best chance to win, and it is Jameis Winston. He had plenty of interceptions that should have been interceptions, but were just dropped by defenders. But he was slinging it. He was hitting that intermediate passing game, and he was getting moving the ball down the field on crucial downs, and the offense looked pretty good. So yeah, it was pretty much par for the course for Jameis, but again, it was good to see versus what could have been if Russell Wilson was starting at quarterback for us this week.
Yeah, I think maybe you have a different outlook if the Packers had some wide receivers playing defensive back in this game, but there's a reason that those guys are playing corner and safety respectively. But this must be what Jameis does in practice all week, because to your point, why wouldn't he have been starting over Russell? The only thing I can think of at all is that, they thought, well, Russ is going to protect the football and our offense is not going to be good enough to overcome many turnovers. So, the risk reward wasn't worth it. But at this point in the season, it kind of is what it is. So maybe that's the thought process. But you want to talk about the flip side of that coin, me having to sit in my seats and watch 4 interceptions fall to the ground because our defenders can't catch the football. It's not even like, oh, that would have been a great play, or maybe he had a chance to come down with it. We are talking about hit him square in the hands or the chest or the face, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. Isaiah McDuffie trucks Javon Bullard after he has an interception in his hands. Carrington Valentine has 2 go right through his hands, including one that's tipped up. And then Keyshawn
I would say the
Nixon,
one that popped up just hung in there like, oh, someone's got to come down with it, and everyone just kind of collided with each other.
of course not. And then Keyshawn
Yeah.
Nixon, who's the all-pro kick returner, had one in the end zone that might as well have been a kick return, the
Oh
way
my
that he had to
God.
catch it, and it went right through his hands. So this defense is just absolutely allergic to turnovers. They just don't want to go anywhere near him. They are incapable of coming. Like you said, there were 3 defenders on that tip ball. They're just incapable of
Yeah.
coming down with them. If you come down with half of those, this game looks totally different. There's a couple more scores on the board, and I think we're having a different conversation here today.
For sure, but again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I feel like it probably makes the most sense to just kind of go and just order of the way that the game unfolded, kind of thing. As per usual that we've seen from the Giants' offenses this entire season, that opening drive was perfect. I mean, they, ran the ball effectively. Overall for the game, they were all right. I mean, the offensive line overall looked really good. Piles were getting pushed in the Giants' favor. They were getting to third and fourth downs, but then they were converting by, just these short yardage inside zone runs or QB sneaks. And the one QB sneak that Jameis had went like,
For 10 yards?
6 yards. Yeah, it was insane. So, and it was just a type of push that, you don't see from this Giants off, or you haven't seen very typically, or from the Giants' offensive line. So it was good to see that. And I mean, that opening drive is really like the pinnacle of that. They went right down the field. They scored, and we don't have our 1-2 running back duo, but the 2-3 duo is looking pretty good with Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. So it was good to see those guys have productive days. And yeah, I mean, the offense was playing well, and then the defense kind of held the Giants in the game in this in the second half. Oh, also, what happened to Jordan Love? Why was Malik Willis in the game?
So you want to talk about confused? I mean, we've talked about this a little bit because obviously you go to all the Giant games, and sometimes if I'm watching it, I pick up on things or hear things on the broadcast that you aren't privy to in the stand. So like whenever you're at the game, you always miss stuff. And we were just utterly confused. So
It
he
made no
comes off the
sense.
field. He goes off the field, but he was kind of that play happened on the Packers sideline anyway, so we weren't like 100% sure what was happening. It looked like they were just changing personnel, and all of a sudden Malik Willis runs out in the field, and you're like, "What the hell? Where's Jordan Love?"
Yeah,
But it wasn't like an apparent like injury, so we weren't too sure. And we saw him run right into the blue medical tent. So we're like, okay, you know what? That must have been the independent neuroscientist called down and said he's staggering, or the officials made him go off the field and he's got to get evaluated, whatever. And then we called timeout. So I'm thinking, oh, LaFleur's just giving him a minute to like get evaluated, and he's just going to come right back out of the field. But then the Packers come back on the field with Malik Willis, and then Love leaves the medical tent and starts jogging around the field towards the locker room. And we're going, what the hell? Like, no, this is no longer a concussion. So now I'm on Twitter, like, refreshing, waiting for some kind of report. And it turns out it was a left shoulder injury. And so at the time, he was considered questionable to return it. And honestly, my thought was, like, next man up. Like, I wasn't too worried about Jordan Love's long-term, health. Maybe that was the liquid libations that were flowing through my veins at the moment, but I wasn't too worried about the future prospects. It was kind of like, look, we played well with Malik, and next man up, and he's got to play well. And he did. I mean, he led a fantastic drive right down the field and converted, to your point about the Giants, converted a second and long to make it a third and manageable, and then used his legs to convert a third and long. That almost they got to first and goal right in our end zone, right in front of us, and then of course the quarter changed and they had to go down the other side.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, like I said, he led a great drive, and then stuck in there, took a big hit on a rollout on third and goal, and threw a bullet to Christian Watson, who was really not open, to be honest, on that play, and the two of them just made something happen.
And I'm telling you, if it was anyone else besides Deonte Banks in coverage there, they probably knocked that pass down and it's incomplete. But, I mean, he just went on. I mean, Deonte Banks went for a ride. I mean, he was just on Christian Watson's back and then decides to be a tough guy after the play. And, try to knock the ball out when he clearly made the catch already, which, you got to love it. Yeah, so that was just embarrassing to watch.
Understandably so, but obviously Love came back the next drive, so all's well that ends well. But
Yeah,
tip
you
of the
didn't have to
cap.
stress too much about that long term health at all.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But tip of the cap to Malik Willis. This is a guy, for a second we got to give him his flowers, because this is a guy last year who stepped in Jordan Love's absence and
Yeah,
did nothing but win. And
he
the
was 3 and
offense,
0 last year, right?
yeah, or
Yeah.
2-0 at least. I can't remember if it was a third win,
Oh,
but
I don't
definitely at
remember how
least
many
two.
games exactly, but yeah, yeah,
But again, stepped in, seamlessly filled that role. Usually when a backup comes in, it's like, okay, just don't hinder the offense. Don't make it like, don't be the reason we're losing. Just be a game manager. But he was the reason we were winning. He's using his legs. He's making good throws, and his receivers are coming
yeah.
down with contested catches, similar to what happened on that drive. So he's a guy that the guys rally. He's a guy that the guys rally around, and I'm really rooting for him. I hope we get to keep him, but if we don't, I hope he gets to compete for a starting job somewhere next year, because I love Malik Willis.
Yeah, definitely one of the better backups in the league, and yeah, then again, good way to fill in. Again, when you get these test dummies in the secondary for the Giants for your receivers to kind of practice and tune up on, it's really good. And you know what? We had said it during the tailgate. I think if the Packers had won last week, I think this becomes much more of a trap game for the Packers. I think there was a little more fire lit under them here, and again, the receivers were just going up. I mean, when they were catching the balls, they were going up and mossing defenders, especially Christian Watson, who was just making plays left and right. I mean, that last touchdown too was just unbelievable. And I mean, just from the Giants' perspective, I mean, I already mentioned Deontay Banks, but the game really did come down to two of the biggest busts on our team. Like, if they were not on the roster, which they should have been cut. Like Kafka, I'm still waiting. Like Deontay Banks and Mr. Jalen Hyatt should be off the team today, like right now. Because, I mean, Deontay Banks going for a piggyback ride on Christian Watson's back was embarrassing enough. Not to mention all the other blown coverages we have to deal with throughout this year. And then somehow, some way, this game comes down to a final New York Giants drive. Jameis Winston is leading them down the field, is converting on these third and fourth downs, and we have an opportunity. He throws a ball into the end zone, and Jalen Hyatt, on a crucial third down with 40 seconds left in the game, stops his route and just literally just stops running. And who's waiting there? Finally, the Packers to get the turnover they so craved and so desired. And then you look at the stat line like, oh, it's just Jameis being Jameis. No, like he threw the ball where it needed to go. Jalen Hyatt just gave up, and he should not have a job.
Now, I don't think that ball is like a given that he was going to score on that play. Obviously, he would have a
No,
chance if he continues the route. But yeah, look, Jameis did his
it's
best to try to give us opportunities to win this football game throughout. This one was not really on him, but he did hand us some on silver platters that we didn't take advantage of. I was going to
for
kill
sure.
myself if we didn't catch that one. I mean, to your point, like that's the chance to put the final nail in the coffin, and you have to take it. And it's funny that you mentioned the two things that this game came down to for the Giants was those two players, making or not making plays.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the Packers, the one thing that this comes down to on both sides of the football is dropping the football.
Yeah,
If we catch all those interceptions, and if we catch all the passes that Jordan Love had dropped on him this week, this game has a totally different complexion. I think we score at least 2-3 more times. We have more sustained drives, the time of possession, and the plays don't look as unbalanced. The Giants had the ball
yeah.
for 10 more minutes than the Packers did in this game.
I was gonna say those Giants drives were, I mean, some of the
Eight
more
minutes a clip.
methodical ones that we've seen all season, and like 10, 14 play drives, because they were just pounding the rock with Singletary and with Tyron Tracy, and again a little bit with Winston too, and it was definitely one of the heavier running attacks that we've seen from any Giants game this season. So maybe that's just the Kafka staple here is the just a little extra ground and pound, and for the most part it worked. It would have been nice to avoid some of those fourth downs, but
When you go 3
overall
of
though,
4 on fourth down, like you
yeah,
really can't complain.
exactly.
No, that really frustrated me too. And look, I think maybe this is a perfect meeting of worlds here too, with like the Giants' approach of trying to just take what the defense is giving you and not do too much, and an offense that hasn't been overly explosive without Jackson Dart in the picture, and a Packers defense that tends to have the philosophy of like bend don't break, and their thought right is like if we give you 4 8-minute drives, like you can only score 28 points and our offense is going to score more than that, basically is the thought, I think. And that's like been their approach for the most part. Like we're going to limit explosive plays and we're going to have more explosive plays than you are. So it kind of worked out in the Giants' favor in that regard, I think. But just because that has been our approach throughout the season does not make it any less disappointing that the Packers were giving up 5, 6, 7 yards a clip on these runs, especially early in the game. Like, and to your point, like in crucial downs and distances, like, okay, it's 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11. Here's your chance. Like, you know, you get a negative play, get the Giants in 3rd and long, and like good things are going to happen. And then you're giving up a 6-yard run and make it 3rd and 4. Like, that's the stuff that's frustrating. And then they were getting screened like all hell. I mean, Tyrone Tracy, especially the one coming towards us in the second half, where Edgerrin Cooper has Tyrone Tracy dead to rights, 4 yards in the backfield, and just whiffs. Mm-hmm. Like, we were allergic to making the big play, you know, not necessarily when it mattered most, but like taking opportunities to make big plays in the game. It felt like we had no pressures on Jameis Winston. We had like 2 sacks, which one barely even counts because it was like the last play of the game, and then.
Yeah, Micah Parsons got a good gift there, a free sack on Seamus.
A strip sack, yeah.
Yeah, literally.
But and then I don't know that we actually had 0 technically, but it felt like no negative plays or no tackles for losses. Like it really felt like we were not forcing the Giants into negative plays, which is an unfortunate reality. Look, I'm watching Abdul Carter come in and just blow right by Rasheed Walker and get in Jordan Love's face in like 1 second. And there were no plays like that for the Packers this game. From nobody. Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons. Not a single person on the defensive line could get through, it felt like.
Yeah, it's funny, though, that one play, I think Love still completed the pass, too. I mean, he got walloped, but he did get it off. And that, I mean, that's kind of how I felt for the Giants, too. I feel like just from a pass rush standpoint, I mean, Jordan Love had, outside of a couple blips here and there, like you said, that one play where he kind of came screaming in quick on the stunt, he pretty much had all day to throw. I don't know if that was the no Kayvon Thibodeau effect too, is like the pass rushers weren't as fresh, but like, again, Brian Burns was gifted his sack also at the very end of the game when Jordan Love just kind of like just took the sack to run out the clock. But besides that, I mean, I think they besides that one give me sack, they had one other play where Brian Burns got a sack. But I mean, besides that, it felt like Jordan Love had just so much time in the pocket to just really, really hit him with those deep balls. And when you give a guy like that much time, who we know is a gunslinger and is going to take these shots downfield, especially against our weak, soft-ass secondary, you know they're going to convert on at least 1 or 2 of them. And, I mean, again, the 2 biggest ones in my head are the touchdown of Christian Watson at the end and the Savion Williams just incredible catch too, which again, both of those plays, all you can do is just like shrug your shoulders and be like, well, we tried. I mean, they were in position there, they just got mossed like that. That's kind of it.
And to your point, the Savion Williams, I mean, Jordan Love had all day to
that's oh my god,
the Christian Watson one, at least, you know, it was a bad snap, he bobbled it. There was some pressure, so he threw it pretty much immediately as he had a good grip on the ball. And they were he was triple covered. There were 3 guys in the area. I mean,
that one you literally just throw your hands up and say, you know what, you couldn't have covered it any better. You just made a hell of a play.
Yep. And I was gonna wait for this, but since we've kind of brought it up a bunch of times, I think Christian Watson is your MVP of this game. I think there's obviously a lot of people that step up throughout. Jordan Love played his balls off, which I'm going to touch on in a second. Obviously, Evan Williams finally is the one who catches an interception at the end to seal it. But without Christian Watson, making a strong hands catch on the Malik Willis touchdown to start it and to kind of keep us in this game momentum-wise, and not let it slip away while Jordan Love is out. And then also, obviously, like to your point, that catch in the end zone is finally somebody, contrary to what we literally just talked about last week with Philly, where like
Yeah.
Devonta Smith went up and made that catch and Evan Williams had a chance to pick it, and like somebody had to make a play. Christian Watson was that guy who said, I'm going to make the plays today. Now, did he also have a drop on the sideline? For sure. Was it probably the most difficult catch out of all the drops that the Packers receivers had this week? Yes, I would say so. But like, so he's not innocent in all of this. He's not perfect for sure. But like, he had, I think he's the one who caught that ball on the play we were just talking about, where Abdul Carter was in Jordan Love's face as well, where Jordan Love just got it out over the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
So he made some nice strong hands catches, and really feels like, you know, they don't go to him as much. Like, it's clear that Jordan Love still peppers Romeo Doubs, and he's kind of his go-to guy in terms of quantity.
Mm-hmm.
But Christian Watson is his guy for big plays, and like he's not called on a lot, but when he's called on, he's making the plays. So
Yeah.
I do appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to him hopefully continuing to get more healthy, continuing to get back to like game speed and fully integrated into his offense. And I hope we involve him more. I hope that quantity goes up. I hope we get him involved more.
And I can't see how after a day like yesterday he wouldn't be. I got to give a shout out too to a receiver on the Giants side. I talked about some of the decisions already with, like, again, the Jameis Winston over Russell Wilson situation in the previous regime. It's crazy I can say that now too, since we're technically in a new head coach era, the Kafka era. But a guy who was let go, or just get taken off our practice squad at the beginning of the season, is Isaiah Hodges, man. I mean, we had some of these guys like, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Bo Collins. I mean, I already aired my grievances about Jalen Hyatt. Isaiah Hodges, after coming back to this team, we all know about how great he did the playoff year in 2021. I mean, he came back and like did not miss a single beat in this offense, and now has more receiving yards than Lil Jordan Humphrey, Bo Collins, and Jalen Hyatt on the season in one game. So it just makes you scratch your head. Like, I don't want to put the hero label on him, but like that year when we were so diminished at wide receiver and just had no talent at the position group, he was sure-handed, reliable, and a guy that made big plays and big moments on the road to our win in Minnesota in the playoffs in 2021. So it's just like another head scratching decision again with the previous regime, and I don't know if it's coach or GM or whatever. I'm not going to play that game, but just clearly Kafka knows the value that he has and what he could bring to this, again, wide receiver desperate team at this point in the season. And I mean, it showed leaps and bounds, him making plays and making tough catches in the intermediate portion of the field. With him with Winston looked like it was, and again, a new quarterback that he hadn't even played with either was just clicking right away. So Big props to Isaiah Hodges. I was so excited to see him involved in the offense again, and just back on the team in general.
It really makes you scratch your head. Like, why was he not their first call when you have all these wide receiver issues a couple weeks ago? Obviously, if you even go back all the way to when Malik Neighbors gets hurt, but obviously then Slayton goes down for that a couple weeks there in the middle, like you said, with Lil Jordan Humphrey and Bo Collins. Like, why did you not sign him off the Pittsburgh practice squad back then? It
makes no sense.
I sat there during the game yesterday thinking, this is Alan Lazard. To your point, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the biggest, he's not the best, most talented guy on the field, but he was there when you needed him. He was open.
He's just a good possession catch guy. Upon. Yeah.
He was exactly
That's all you
what
can ask
needed.
for. Literally. We're stealing the words out of each other's mouths right now, but it's so true. So, but yeah, no, it was great to see him back. And the one other thought that I had just from the Giants' perspective, I guess going more defensively here, is that this team is just so devoid of talent on the defensive side of the ball and in the defensive coaching room also. I mean, I don't really know what to make of it anymore. I mean, we've just seen this defense left and right get embarrassed, get ran through. And, just no heart, no tackling on defensively in the run game, and the secondary just. I mean, we have actual ShopRite baggers playing cornerback right now, and it's bad. It's just they will be exploited every week for the rest of the season, and it's tough, especially when we seemingly with this amazing pass rush are only good for a Brian Burns sack here or there, and then the rest of the game just that's it. So not great. Again, I'm not looking forward to too much with this team anyway. I just don't know how much I could sit and really break down this defense much more, regardless of the mismatches or the opponent. It's just getting bad.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
I don't blame you. And I guess the flip side of like me saying this game would look a lot different if there weren't as many of those drops. The defense did get bailed out by a lot of those drops too. Like to your point,
Yes,
those
they
guys, it's not like all those drops were like highly contested catches. A handful of these were like they were open, like, and they just dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like the Packers were better at catching those contested balls than the wide open ones.
Yeah, you make a good point with that too.
So.
But I almost mentioned it before when we were talking about drops, but I think this is a good time now to mention it. Jordan Love's stat line, somebody put together kind of a little estimate of what his stat line would have looked like if all of those balls had been caught. And it didn't account for yards after the catch, so this is assuming they were tackled as soon as they caught the football. But it is quite startling when because I think if you look at the stat sheet for this game, you go, Jordan Love played like shit. He completed like 50% of his passes and only threw for 173 yards. He was like 13 of 24. Like, that's really not that great.
I will say, too, I mean, I was surprised seeing the stat line, too, because I feel like watching him, he played better than the stat sheet shows anyway.
For sure. And he missed a drive, too, right? Like, so that's part of it.
Yeah. One less touchdown to the board.
Yeah, exactly. But beyond that, he had 11 incompletions, 7 of which were dropped. So, like, what do you want?
Well, I actually didn't realize there were that many drops. I remember seeing constantly seeing them drop the ball, but putting a number to it is wild.
It's a lot. So, like, his stat line goes from 13 of 24, or sorry, there were 6, not 7, 6. 13 of 24 to 19 of 24. Which goes from a completion percentage of 54% to 79%. He would have gone from 174 yards to 266 yards.
Jeez.
And then who knows however many touchdowns those drives would have led to. So, you want to talk about leaving plays out on the field. And again, this is a team that, unfortunately for you can get away with some of that stuff. We almost didn't, but we were able to get away with, not making all those plays. But it did feel like this was a get-right game in that, we made enough of those plays finally to come out with a win, and now we have a building block to go forward with. Because the biggest thing for me offensively, despite the quarterback changes and Josh Jacobs leaving during the game, who's now week to week with a knee injury, and Emmanuel Wilson played well in his absence, so did Chris Brooks, especially stepping up in pass protection. But the big thing offensively that I really appreciated is it felt like we got back on track in terms of game flow and the script and the play calling and all of this nonsense that has been bogging us down over the last 3-4 weeks with the behind the line of scrimmage bullshit and the running unnecessarily, like sticking with the run just out of principle instead of reading the room and getting a feel for what is working and what's not working. It felt like we had a much better feel for the game this week than we did previously. It felt like for the first time in a couple weeks we led with the pass and followed that with the run and allowed that to open up the run game instead of trying to do the opposite. And again, we never got away from the run. We were still balanced. We still ran the ball effectively, right? 5.5 yards a carry, but we were predominantly pass first on first and second down, allowing us to run the football in short yardage situations. So that was a very encouraging sign. We were pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. Obviously, again, that goes hand in hand with the amount of time that Jordan Love was afforded. I think as this game went on, it felt like he had more time. The first couple drives felt like he was under duress a little bit more. But as we got going there towards the end, he had a couple more opportunities to take, again, not necessarily deep shots, but just start pushing the ball down the field 10-plus yards down the field, 10, 15 yards at a time. To your point about the play with Abdul Carter, right? Like he could have just checked that down, but that was an 11-yard pass. That was a first down when a guy's in his face. So like we are keeping our eyes downfield and we're getting chunk plays, and moving the ball effectively down the field. It's another part of the reason too why the time possession battle was so imbalanced, because the Giants had these nice long methodical drives, but the Packers drives were also fairly quick, helped by the fact that they were getting chunk plays 10, 12 yards at a time.
Yeah, I mean, the yards per play were pretty significantly in the Packers' favor, which, again, makes sense. Another thing I noted, too, kind of in that same realm of the Packers play calling, is that I did notice there was a lot, it seemed like a lot more play action being called, too. That was one thing that I had noticed, because something you were screaming and banging the table for the last couple of weeks, but it looks like they started getting back to some of that, which was definitely good for them.
So yeah, a very encouraging performance from the offense here. Obviously, without some of our best players for the entire game, and hopefully getting more healthy. We can talk about this in a second as I look forward. But Jaden Reed coming back, Marshawn Lloyd potentially coming back, some more playmakers for this offense. I won't get too more in depth about how disappointed I was with the defensive line's lack of pressure, because I'm kind of excited about the positive note that I'm ending this on, because I haven't been super positive the last couple weeks. So I'm just going to leave it at that and ignore that for now.
Fair enough.
But some more just like anecdotal stuff from the game, just because we have to relish in this a little bit. It's always a fun time, like you said, and one of our buddies, Kevin, this week at the tailgate made me realize too. He's like, oh, when's the next time the Packers come here? And this was the reason they played this year, is because of the divisional matchups, the actual like routine scheduling. So the next time, according to the NFL scheduling, that the Packers come to MetLife to play the Giants is 8 years from now.
Wow.
I know, which obviously just
goodness.
really paints the picture of how blessed we've been over the last 8 years, where we've played each other way more than that because of the the way that we've finished in our respective divisions throughout that time. So
I was going to say, I think we've been to at least, in the previous 8 years? How many did you say, like
half.
2, 3?
I was
3
say
games?
4, maybe
4 might be a lot, because they played in London the 2021. But I think besides that,
Monday Night Football, maybe this was the third. Monday Night Football 2 years ago, and then the one before that, which might have been 2020 or 2019, where it snowed.
yes.
And we had the tents in the parking lot. We had the tarps around all the sides of the tents, and we had a portable heater in there.
The grill and the heater inside the tent, yeah.
That
was one of those classic Packer Giants December games. But awesome. That's crazy, because it really does seem like the Packers just are constantly visiting. So that's kind of sad to think about. Not another 8 years until possibly you guys coming back here.
Well, I'll be rooting for the Giants to rebound, so that hopefully you guys are contending for the division, and we can hopefully finish in the same place in our division and play each other. That's the thing we have to hope for. And maybe 4 years from now, we're making a trip to Lambeau. We'll see.
That's true too.
Let's get that on our radar.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it looks like the Packers got a little divisional stretch coming up in their next couple games. So
we are going to find out a lot about this team over the next 3 weeks. I feel like I've said that. There have been a couple stretches, right, where like we had that take care of business stretch where I said we need to go 4-0 and 3-1, and there's a couple of these stretches throughout the season. This is one of them, right? Like we have 7 games left, I think, and 5 of them are divisional games. So we have to. This is going to be a real chance for us to show the rest of the division and the conference who we're made of. And it's really going to, I don't want to say it's going to make or break our season, because our record is good enough that we can overcome, even if we were to somehow, worst case scenario, knock on wood, this doesn't happen, go 0-3 in this stretch, right? Like the season's not over, so it's not truly make or break, but from like an emotional momentum perspective, it feels like it is, right? Like this is your opportunity. You go 2-1, even if you drop the Thanksgiving game to the Lions, right? Like you split the season series with the Lions. I'm okay with that. You both won your home games. It is what it is. They're a good team. But you beat the Bears and the Vikings, and you kind of say, listen, you two are still the little brother. Put them in their place a little bit, have their fans shut up for a second, and kind of just get back to business and really establish yourself atop the NFC, going into what would be week 15 or 16. Like that will be really, I think, the focus over the next couple of weeks. But at the same time, I don't want to jump too far ahead and start saying, well, we need to do this and we need to do this over the next 3 or 4 games. Like this Viking game is not going to be an easy game. J.J. McCarthy has been questionable since he came back from injury. He looked
Quite a
good
roller
against the
coaster.
Lions in Detroit the first week. He looked bad against Baltimore. So, he's and he looked pretty bad against Chicago for the whole game the other day, but then he led
Yeah,
that game winning or taking the lead
could have
drive.
been. Yeah, could have been a game-winning drive.
Right? So, they have the tools, they're capable, and we'll just have to go out there and beat them. But this is a really tough stretch for us. Again, I think we can really find out a lot about what the Packers are made of, and I hope, right, this Giants game is sending us on like that upward trajectory. The other thing to think about is there have been a couple comparisons today that have come out of Jordan Love's stats through the first 10 or 11 weeks of the last 3 seasons. And we don't have to go one by one through all the stats,
Oh,
but
I know where you're going here.
the completion percentage is up. The touchdowns are relatively flat. The interceptions are down. The quarterback rating is up, right? And so we're trending in the right direction in terms of how he's played in the first half of every season for his first 3 seasons. And we are coming to a specific time of the year where
I
there's a
knew it was
specific
coming.
advertising promotion that goes on by a certain Japanese car manufacturer called
Oh
Toyotathon.
my goodness.
Where Jordan-
Toyotathon love is here.
Yep, and Panini's coming out with special limited edition Toyotathon cards with like a signed piece of a ugly sweater that Jordan Love wore.
Oh my god.
So we are
That's
fully
crazy.
embracing the
Is he-
Toyotathon narrative.
He's got to be on a Toyota commercial. Does
Yeah.
he have a deal? Okay.
He
I
was
gonna
last
say,
year. I don't know if it's like a long-term thing, but they did have him on Toyotathon commercials
Okay,
last year.
good. I feel like it made too much sense.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. I mean, they were basically doing the marketing for them, right? Like, if people
Yeah,
are going to talk about
literally.
it anyway. You might as well attach your logo to it.
Exactly.
So, all jokes aside, this has been the time of year that Jordan Love has really, turned it on the last couple of years. He's fully healthy now. The offensive line looked better in pass protection yesterday. Again, the receivers are getting healthier in terms of Christian Watson being back. Jaden Reed, they're talking about potentially opening up his 21-day practice window this week. So Matt LaFleur looked very optimistic about that. Doesn't sound like he would be back this week, but maybe for Thanksgiving against the Lions. If not, definitely the following week against the Bears. So again, Jaden Reed is the kind of like Tucker Kraft replacement a little bit, right? He gets the opportunities down the middle of the field and along the sideline. He's your contested catch guy. I know Christian Watson has been doing his best to fill that role, but Jaden Reed over the last 2 years has really been the guy who goes up and gets the football, despite the fact that he's not 6'4" like Christian Watson. But that's just the way that he plays. It's his play style. It's his nature. And you get a little bit more of I don't want we've Matthew Golden for the end arounds and the speed options and things like that, but he is another one of those types of players where you can have crossing routes with Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and Matthew Golden, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you can't cover all three of them. Mm-hmm. So, getting another playmaker back in this offense is something that'll be very helpful, obviously. And then Marshawn Lloyd, we don't know what we're going to get with him. I mean, who knows if he'll even stay healthy or when he's activated, but another parallel, I know you're going to love this, another parallel between the 2010 team and this year's team is that the Packers activated a young running back in November of 2010 who went on to play a pretty significant role in that run to the playoffs and Super Bowl. His name was James Starks. So, maybe there's an opportunity here for Marshawn Lloyd with Josh Jacobs coming back from an injury and Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks and kind of doing that running back by committee for him to come in and differentiate himself and have a role. So I'm definitely very much looking forward to what this offense can do. Again, the defense has been playing lights out for the most part. They've been preventing teams from scoring more than 20 points all year. And I think we're at the point now where I expect this offense to score more than 20 points a game. So I'm very much looking forward to the second half of the season, but I do think this next stretch of divisional games is crucial for us.
I'm not gonna lie. When you said that there were 7 weeks left in this NFL season, I almost had a heart attack. I cannot believe that I have to sit and watch the New York Giants for the next 7 weeks. Thankfully, one of them is a bye week. This season has been gone for so long already. To now think about having to just wallow in this for another 2 whole months is just brutal.
Well,
especially
you're
when
welcome on the Green Bay bandwagon.
Hey, you know what? They are one of the teams that I root for, and I feel like I have to, being a part of this podcast as well. Trust me, there's plenty of other teams I would like to see the demise of before the Packers. So I'm
One of the guys
definitely
sitting behind me, one of the guys sitting behind me yesterday, in a row of Packer fans, he must have been all his buddies, was wearing an Eagles hat, but he was giving me just as many high fives when we did good stuff as
oh
the Packer
yeah,
fans
yeah,
were. So, very much in the same boat as when you and I find camaraderie rooting against the Cowboys.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, we're also going against a division rival of yours. We go to Detroit next week. Uh, Hopefully Jackson Dart will be cleared from concussion protocol, but I have absolutely no expectations for this game. Like I said, I talked about how much of a lost cause this defense is. The Lions will just run through them like a hot knife through butter, and the offense might make some plays, make things interesting, but I really don't have much confidence in the Giants as they are 2-9, are limping their way through this season with whoever guys they could find off the street, and yeah, we got a couple more tough games as we close out this season. Um, it's just not looking great for again what's already been a tough schedule and what looks like it will continue to be. Um, Not a lot of light at the tunnel until we probably get to the off season and have some bigger storylines to start talking about. But I'm not going to go that far ahead of myself just yet.
Fair enough. I will certainly be rooting for you in Detroit to pull off the upset win. I mean, Detroit coming off a disappointing loss in Philadelphia this weekend, I'm sure we'll be happy to try to stomp all over you, but I'll definitely be rooting for the Giants
It's
and
isn't
Jackson
it
Dart to
funny?
come back.
Isn't it funny too that we are just getting these good teams at their most angry? Like the Packers just dropped two, then they got to go play the Giants. Lions just lose to Philly, then they got to go play the Giants. I'm
Yeah.
sure when we play the Patriots, they might come off a disappointing loss, then they'll go and play the Giants.
Right.
So on and so forth. But
Do you play
uh,
do you play the entire NFC North 4 out of 5 games? You played Chicago last week, right? And
mhm.
then Green Bay this week, Detroit
Yeah,
next week, then New
Chicago.
England, then Minnesota.
No, we got Commanders in between.
Okay.
We got a bye week and the Commanders in between.
Okay, so a little bit
But
more spread out. But 3 NFC
but
North in a
still
row is still a lot.
the last 3 weeks, which I didn't even clock until you said that. So yeah, we've been doing our tour of the NFC North. Unfortunately, we have not been able to help the Packers out at all in this. Well, besides you winning the game, that
True.
is somewhat of a help. So
True. That I would argue the main help.
yes,
I'd rather
yes,
we beat you than you beat any of the other teams.
that's fair enough. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't really have too much else to say. Any other thoughts just on the day of anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think that was it. Obviously, it was like you said, wonderful day. Always a great tailgate. Always a great time. We make the most of it for sure. Took our brats to go that we enjoyed in the stands and around halftime, and
Yeah.
did make my way down to the tunnel where we usually try to sit in section 123, 124 for these games, right where the visiting team comes out of the tunnel, so we can welcome the team to the field and kind of wave them off the field as well. It was cool to see, Micah Parsons up close for the first time and Jordan Love running off the field, and Christian Watson came and threw his glove up that went right over my hands, almost had it.
Damn.
So, it's always cool, and it's definitely one of the pros of sitting down in that end zone. It's cool to see everybody run off the field, especially after a win. I've seen them, especially the last time, run off after a loss, and it's definitely not nearly as fun versus Evan Williams running off the field, still cradling that football that he
Yeah.
had from the interception and giving us this as he walked out of the tunnel. So it's a lot of fun getting to kind of connect with the players, up close and personal, if you will, at these games. But otherwise, I think that pretty much wraps up this, like you said, Eclipse episode of Giants, Packers, Decleated. As always, thank you all for listening and tuning in wherever you may be listening from. Remember to turn on new episode notifications so you never miss a new episode of Decleated. And you can follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok at DecleatedPod, or YouTube at Decleated Podcast.